Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mika. I've been gone for quite some time. I'm sorry about that. Whenever I take little breaks from YouTube, I'm usually pretty active on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much everything but YouTube. So I'm okay. I'm just usually procrastinating filming. But today we have a really exciting video. It's one that I have been thinking about doing for quite some time now. One of my friends actually gave me this idea, so thank you so much, Becca. You're a real one. And I'm going to be talking about books that I wish I could read for the first time again. I'm sure we all have our all-time favorite books, even if it's not a favorite book and it just brings you a lot of joy and memory when you think back to the first time you read it. I have quite a few books that I feel that way towards, so the books on this list are definitely going to be some that are nostalgic to me and some that I just wish I could erase my memory and start from the beginning. But first, I do want to say thank you to the sponsor of today's video, which of course is Book of the Month. Book of the Month is a monthly subscription service where you get to pick out of a great, and I mean great, selection of books every single month. They have so many incredible different genres, a lot of new and emerging authors, and some pretty well-established authors as well. It really just depends on the month. If you click the link in my description and use the code mikaAugust, you can also get your first box with them for only $9.99 for a hardcover. It's usually an adult book, so an adult hardcover for $9.99, like, you just can't get that deal just anywhere. They sent me their 5 selections for the month of April, so I'm gonna share them with you guys really fast. First up, we have The Good Left Undone, and this is by Adriana Trigiani. And then we have Kaiki by Vaishnavi Pate. Ooh, this one sounds good. Okay, it says, I was born on the full moon under an auspicious constellation, the holiest of positions. Much good it did me. I love a good story about like the stars and constellations, just like destiny being written in the stars, all of that. So this sounds definitely up my alley. We have Like a Sister by Kelly Garrett. True Biz by Sarah Novick. And then we also have Bittersweet, How Sorrow and Longing Make Us Whole, and this is by Susan Cain. I think this is a nonfiction. I usually don't read nonfiction, but I am really intrigued with this one. Those are all of the selections of April. If any of those sounded interesting to you, make sure to, again, go to my description and use the code mikaAugust, and you will get your first box with Book of the Month for only $9.99. which again is amazing. And thank you so much to Book of the Month for sponsoring today's video. Okay, so let's get into all of the books that I wish I could read for the first time again. So the first book on this list is Obsidian by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I have the new cover. I kind of regret not getting the old covers because there's just something about them that screams like very early paranormal YA. I'll put it up on the screen. But this entire series, the Lux series, is so nostalgic to me. I read these books back when I was like in middle school, and the fact that I reread them so often, I'm literally 20 now, so I reread them almost every single year. If you don't know what Obsidian is about, it is basically about this girl who moves away from her hometown with her mom after her dad just passed, and they move to this like really small town, and their neighbors are kind of strange, and it happens to be these 2 twin siblings, Dee and Damon. And basically Katie, our main character, has a little run-in with Damon, and they definitely get off on the wrong start. So we have a little bit of like enemies to lovers, or more of like a I just can't stand you, but like I have to deal with you because you're my neighbor type of story. But it turns out that Damon and Dee are actually hiding a huge secret. They are aliens. And I feel like that sounds so dumb when you like say it out loud, but when I tell you guys, this was literally one of my favorite series when I was younger. It was back when paranormal romance or paranormal YA romance was really in. We don't really get that much paranormal YA romance anymore, which kind of sucks. Can we bring that back? But yeah, I absolutely loved this series. I loved this book, and I reread it pretty often, but I feel like nothing compares to when you pick up a book for the first time and you're just so enthralled in the world and the characters. But either way, I always have a great time when I reread this. There are some books on this list that like I can't really reread that often just because they're either really long or just like don't do as well with rereads, which is why I wish I could read them for the first time again. You'll see. Yeah, our first book was Obsidian by JLA. I will literally always love this book. So next up, we actually have a book that I'm reading right now. I'm on the 5th book in this series and I'm so obsessed with it. I already am at that point where I'm like, I just want to rewind time, go back and reread the 1st book because it's so good, you guys. That is Zodiac Academy by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti. I'm sure you guys have been hearing about the series absolutely everywhere, and I'm about to add to it because this series is literally everything. So this series follows 2 twin Geminis named Tori and Darcy, and they have had a pretty rough life growing up. They are orphans and they are kind of struggling to just make ends meet in the city of Chicago. And then all of a sudden, this random ass guy who's also fine as hell hunts them down and lets them know that they're basically princesses to this place that mirrors Earth called Solaria, and that they have this like massive inheritance, and that if they want it, they need to go with him and go to the school called Zodiac Academy. But there's a catch. In order for them to get their full inheritance, they have to actually graduate from Zodiac Academy. However, because the world of Solaria has gone so long without like a ruling family, the 4 councils have pretty much ruled over Solaria for the past 18 years, and the heirs to the throne are not happy when Tori and Darcy come back. And then pretty much throughout the book, the heirs are trying to make Tori and Darcy's life a living hell. It is a bully romance, so if you don't really like dark romance or bully romance, probably don't pick this one up. But when I tell y'all, it's so good. I literally started this series last week. I'm already on book 5. They're massive. They're like on my library cart right there. They're huge. But I literally have not had so much fun reading a series in so long, and that's why I just want to rewind time, go back, start the 1st book, because I did not know what I was in for. I was really scared I wasn't gonna like the series, and here I am, absolutely obsessed with it. Okay, next up on this list we have Tristans Venom by Penelope Douglas. I read this in a day last year when it came out, or did it come out this year? No, it came out last year. Oh my god, the way I don't even know, I don't even have a concept of time anymore. This came out June of last year. I literally remember reading it in a day. It was amazing. It was Penelope Douglas's first sapphic romance, and they did not disappoint. This is also a bully romance. I don't know, maybe I gotta do a little bit of reflecting because I love bully romances. I don't know what it is about a bully romance that just does it for me every single time, especially if it's a dark I mean, most bully romances are dark romance, but yeah, dark romance, bully romance type of mixture, it just does it for me. And I like love when independently published authors do that art. Oh my god, that reminds me, look at the art inside of Zodiac Academy. Hold on, this is like the beginning of each chapter. That's how it looks. It's so pretty. Anyways, back to Tristans Venom. Yeah, I really enjoyed this book. It also takes place in Florida. It had a lot of stereotypical things that happen in Florida, which was kind of funny because like when you live here, you know that shit like that doesn't actually happen, but it's funny to see how other people like view Florida. I did do a reread of this book this year. I enjoyed it just as much as I did the first time, so that was really good. But yeah, I know a lot of people don't really like this book. I personally really enjoyed it. Okay, I could not film this video, of course, without mentioning Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I enjoyed this book immensely when I read it. I was really scared I wasn't gonna like it. Then I remember, I think I saw fan art and I was like, I had to read this, and I got the art from Simon Teen, so thank you so much, Simon Teen. Y'all are real ones. I cannot wait for the 2nd book to come out. So we follow our main character Bree, and she is invited to go to this program at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. However, she ends up infiltrating this predominantly white secret society at this school in order to hopefully find more answers about her mother's death. And when I say this book is crazy, y'all, I loved it so much. It's very much like a version of the Mortal Instruments. If you really like the Mortal Instruments, you'll really enjoy this book. I personally think, I don't want to say too much, but I just think it's really good. It also reads older. I know it's YA, but it's definitely more teetering on the line of like upper YA. So yeah, I've been waiting eons for the 2nd book. Like, Tracy, girl, I'm tired of waiting. Like, I need the next book now. Okay, so the next one is one that I read and I honestly didn't think I was gonna enjoy that much, and that was You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hochul. Y'all, this book was incredible. I genuinely wish I could go back and read this for the first time again. Like, they just don't be writing rom-coms like this. I'm sure everyone knows what this book is about, but pretty much we follow these two characters who are engaged, and they're kind of at a standstill point in their relationship. Neither one really wants to call off the wedding, because whoever calls off the wedding is going to be the one who has to pay for everything. So they are kind of like at each other's throats, trying to force the other person to call off the wedding. And I don't want to say too much, but this book was everything. I honestly feel like I want to reread this soon. Like, it was just so good. I really like Sarah Hogle. She's probably an auto by author for me. I also read Twice Shy by her, I think last year, and it was really good. And just like the romance in this book and the way everything plays out, and just it's so good. Okay, next up we have another romance book. A lot of these are romance books. I just love me some romance. I can't help it. We have A Love Letter to Whiskey by Candy Steiner. Y'all, I love this book. I love this book so much. So this book is definitely more so of like a best friends to lovers story. So our main character B falls in love with this guy named Jamie. However, Jamie fell in love with B's best friend. So it's a little tricky because time and time again, it's like right person, wrong time. And it's really frustrating reading their story, and it's really frustrating seeing all the different things that they could have done to actually be together, because the story does span over like years and years, but it's so good. It's so good. The angst in this story, impeccable. Like, I know a lot of people get really frustrated with the characters, and I did too, but it was like a good type of frustration. I haven't reread this yet, and I really want to, but it just put me through so much the first time that I read it. I don't even know if I would be able to bring myself to do it. I do reread parts. I do that a lot with like books that I read. I reread parts of the book that were my favorites. But this is just one of those books where I'm like, I want to get a memory eraser, erase my brain at whatever time I read this so I can read it from the beginning again, because it was amazing. Oh my god. I'm just like, even thinking about the scenes in this book, like Candy Steiner put her fucking foot in this. Okay, so next up we have The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. I was really trying to figure out what Mariana Zapata book I wanted to use for this. She has so many books, and I've read literally every single one of them besides like her two oldest ones. This was the first Mariana Zapata book that I ever read, so that's why I chose this one to go on this list, because that's where it all started. I honestly wish I could go back and reread every single Mariana Zapata book for the first time. This is a sports romance. It's a sports romance, but it's technically not a sports romance at the same time, because the premise of the story is that our main character Vanessa is the personal assistant to Aiden, who is this football player. However, Vanessa has had enough, so she puts in her 2 weeks notice. She's like, listen, it was fun while it lasted, but I'm outie. But like, she is literally Aiden's saving grace. Like, when I say this girl did absolutely everything for him, and he's just like one of those like broody characters, so he didn't really appreciate what he had until she was gone, you know? And then Aiden shows up on her doorstep begging for her to come back, and also for a favor, which I will not be saying because you need to read the book and find out what the favor was. But yeah, this one was definitely serving angst. It was serving slow burn. Look, oh my god, the book is so big. It's so big, but I promise you guys it's worth it. I loved this book so much. It did not feel like it was this long. I know a lot of people have things against like really long romances, but y'all, this is the one romance that I'm like, it's worth it. Anytime Mariana Zapata book is this long, it's worth it, I promise. I used to reread this religiously. Like, I would finish it, read another book, and then go right back and reread this one because it was just that good. And it's definitely a book that I wish I could just read for the first time again, especially because it started my love for Mariana Zapata and her writing and her books. So yeah, whenever people ask me what Mariana Zapata book they should start with, I always tell them start with this one, just because it's just a good starting point to get into her writing and her style of writing and the way her characters are, because a lot of her characters are kind of similar in some ways. So yeah, if you are interested in starting Mariana Zapata, I'd recommend starting with this one, in my personal opinion. Okay, so the last two books, no one's gonna be surprised, and I just feel like I had to add these because they were a staple in me reading in general, and that is Throne of Glass and A Court of Thorns and Roses. I took my mini edition of Throne of Glass because I didn't feel like taking the actual book off my shelf. I had to add these because Throne of Glass is one of those books where I've never gone back and like actually reread Throne of Glass. I've never gone back and reread the first book, and I think it's just because like the first book is so different from the rest of the series. If I do reread books in the Throne of Glass series, it's usually I start from Air of Fire just because it's one of my favorite books. Yeah, nothing compares to the first time I read Throne of Glass. Like, I think about it all the time. It's just will forever and always be one of my all-time favorite series, even though I haven't read the last book, but that's fine. It's fine. I know people are always shocked when I say I haven't read the last book in the Throne of Glass series, but to be fair, Empire of Storms was the only one that was out when I was reading the series. So I read up until Empire of Storms, and then Tower of Dawn came out and I didn't want to read about Chaol, and then Kingdom of Ash came out, and then here we are. So, and then of course ACOTAR. This one's an interesting one because I don't really reread ACOTAR. I always reread A Court of Mist and Fury and like the last book. And for those of you who have read ACOTAR, you know why. It's just there's certain scenes in here that I will go back and read, but most of the book I'm kind of just like, just so much changes from this book to the second book. Yeah. So I wish I could go back and reread this for the first time because of all the emotions that it built me up to read the rest of the series. I used to hate these covers. I used to hate these covers and the Throne of Glass covers, and now I love them. The new covers have definitely made me very appreciative of what we have. I feel like I have so many books that I wish I could read for the first time again. This list was just barely scratching the surface. So if you guys ever want a part 2, let me know. I'd be so happy to do one. Let me know what books you would like to read for the first time down below in the comments. And also leave a pink heart emoji if you are still watching this video. Also make sure you check out Book of the Month. It'll be down below in my description, of course. And I can't wait to see you guys in my next video. So hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Mwah.
East and the west, I'm racking up on my breath, power on me, I'm feeling just like a Tesla. Too much tree, the smoke is making my chest hurt. Girl on me, I'm thinking I should've rest her. Hey, I'm thinking I should've rest all night long. She putting me to the test, got a lot on, I'm trying to take out the rest.